Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. I hope you guys are doing well today. Let's talk about this fog, and let's talk about the things that were happening prior to that. And my channel is about God. It's about God, and we know that there's a lot of stuff happening on this planet that isn't even worth looking at. You know, it's not even worth discussing because of the stuff that they've done to us. But there may be another reason for this, and that's why I make this video. So I felt interested. I wasn't chasing after it or anything. I just saw it because I watch a lot of Christian YouTube channels, and there was a lot of suggestions on my YouTube. And I believe I have an answer for you guys, but part of it may be not so good. Let's just say it's I don't know. Is it nefarious? Well, let's see. I'm going to leave a link in the description box to the explanation that satisfies me. It probably should satisfy you, but a lot of the stuff surrounding it, though, how things have gone down, doesn't. First off, let's just remember this. Think of all the things that this whole world, but to watch what's happening in America, all the stuff that administration has done, okay? Would you put it behind them to say that it wasn't them? The only thing I know is I started hearing about all these plasma things. We know there's going to be a lot of deceptions, as Matthew 24 says, as the time of the end nears. And I think these things are going to draw you away from God. So don't spend too much time on them. I wanted to give an explanation, which I think does satisfy this, but so I don't know how long it's been happening. I'm like, you know, my glasses, man. I can see so much clearer with glasses. So, you know, one of the first things we started hearing about were these drones, and that these drones had orbs or something around them, whatever it is. And, you know, no one truly knows what this is. I mean, like, they're drones. And what I'm saying is, like, they don't know what it is definitively. And I don't mean UFOs. I don't mean aliens. I don't mean those things. I don't believe those things exist. And people are, you know, thinking they're fallen angels and that this veil is thinned and stuff. That's not what's happening. There are things that the U.S. government has that you have no idea about. You just haven't studied it. You don't know the history. You don't know the history of aircraft. You don't know how advanced they were already in the 40s and 50s. All you have to do is look at the Avro Aero to understand that 70 years ago they had a plane that could, the Avro Aero that Canada made, that had that could go faster than the CF-18 and had the abilities of it. Can you imagine? Have they? I do believe they have gravity, like anti-gravity aircraft. Absolutely, I do believe that. And why would it sound outlandish? So, pardon me just a sec, I just got to pace. So all these different drone sightings, I don't know what they are, man. I have no idea what they are. You know, they say they're at night because they're looking for radioactive. You know, you're going to hear 1,000 different things. And each one of these could be true. And then they say that they're really drones looking at these orbs. And how can you and I trust anything that's on the internet now, these days, with AI? You can't. But, you know, when you see a pattern emerge of what you think is some reputable stuff, in any case, look for the best explanations, and that's what I'm going to try to give. So that's all I know. There's a lot of these drones, hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of them. But I thought first, you know, like, where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? They're coming from the United States. They're coming by Air Force bases. Air Force bases. Put your, you know, like, draw a simple conclusion. It's happening in one place. But then someone's going to say to me, it's happening all over the world, but not near to the effect that it is in the States. Sorry, my throat. Everything always seems to happen by an Air Force base or something like that. Is it China? Is it this? Is it that? Well, the next thing. Okay, so I don't know about that. I don't know. I've seen those orb-like things, ball lightning, whatever it is. Listen, you know, it's like in the Bible where it says there were giants before and after. And people focus so much in Scripture about the Nephilim, man. You know, like, that's going to get you nowhere in your journey with God at all. And I had to think about it. Were there after? I do believe that there were, because today I was just finishing off 2 Samuel, and when David was getting older, he was weary, and one of the giants of Goliath, I guess it was his sons, 4 of them, one of them with a golden spear tried to kill David, but what was his name? I forget his name offhand, but it was one of his generals anyways, killed him, and then they killed the rest of those giants. So there were giants, 6 fingers, 6 toes. So as far as we know, that was the end of them. We don't see them. They're not even worth talking about anymore. Pretty cool story, though. It was, you know, only 1,000 years ago. So all of a sudden we start hearing about this fog. And that really interested me, because fog just doesn't sit down for 4 days in multiple countries. And at first it seemed to be in the U.S. I started looking at, there was a Florida advisory alert, and what this person was saying, whether it's trustworthy or not, was that the PM, I don't know if they mean the parts per million, was at 2.5. It was 2.5 times the WHO standard, which is horrific for your respiratory. Means you got to stay indoors. I don't know. I can't verify that, but they say there's a smell of chemical in the air, and it is true. It is true, and it is in multiple countries. So why is that? Why is that? And the first thing is, you know, when you get into, and I don't like the word of conspiracy theory, it's just people looking for the truth. Are they trying to poison us? Because look what they've done in the last 4 years all over the world. And you know what I'm talking about, how it began. And the administrations of the world have turned evil. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? There's a virus coming out of China that looks to be very dangerous. They're talking about all these different diseases. Listen, I'm going to read a psalm, okay? No, it's actually a song that David wrote after the end of all the battles, at the end, if I even remember. We're not supposed to worry about these things, but I'm going to give you an explanation that will satisfy you, I believe. Pardon me. It's not natural. It seems to be happening in many countries. Just this fog settling over cities for days at a time, and they're saying they're doing it so we don't see what's up in the sky. But I finally found a good answer to this, and I'm going to play it.
Fog smells bad. And
so I'm going to play it, and then when I've done this, I'm going to read you a couple things. You know, that when I talk about would they poison us? Would they? Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know that answer. I don't want to say things that are not true. You ever heard of the pineal gland? The pineal gland, where it's like an acorn shape. It's very small in your brain. It's what the Pope has on his stick or on his hat. I forget what it is, but they have a big statue of a pineal gland. Looks like an acorn, and it's a symbol of what you call the third eye, right? And there's truth to this. The pineal gland is a part in your brain that becomes calcified when you eat sugary foods, when you eat high carbs, when you don't take care of yourself. And they do put fluoride in the water, okay? We don't need fluoride in our water. They say it's for our teeth. But you can uncalcify it by doing things that I do. Working out, eating healthy foods. These things will uncalcify it. That is a scientific fact. I don't know if I have time to read it all, but maybe I'll get back to that. I want to play this about the fog, and I want to. I'm not in my editing. I can't edit at this time. This is on my Windows recording, so I can't edit. I don't do editing here. I do editing on Bandicam, so it's different. So if I bring this video on, it takes like, I don't know, many hours to do because it doesn't upload videos well. So I guess I'll just play it here, and I will share this. I don't know if this guy's a scientist, but he has a very good explanation. Let's listen. 8 minutes long.
In Europe, thousands of people reported that the fog smells bad and raised their concerns that it might be poisonous. Of course, most people insulted them in the comments, claiming they are conspiracy nuts. But I'll tell you what, the conspiracy nuts turned out to be right. Because right now, I'll prove that the fog is poisonous. 10 days before the fog emerged in all these places, this many volcanoes showed 2 times higher levels of activity than usual. And usually, at any given moment, the average number of active volcanoes worldwide is around 20. Right now, there are 44. At one time, active volcanoes. I don't mean blowing the tops off, okay? Not that type. Not like Everest, not like the ones that have gone off in the last few years. Those are unusual. But they mean active ones like Kilauea, or the ones in Hawaii that are constantly flowing. Okay, it says to have 20 at once is normal. That's what it says on their website. I don't know. Okay, but what I know is this. So he says there are 44 continuing.
There are 44 continuing now. That's over double, and I've put on my channel at least a year ago and before. I was tracking the volcanoes. Okay, this is stuff that I'm interested in all my life. I've followed volcanoes, storms, tornadoes, hurricanes all my life. So if anyone would know, it would be me. It's just a general interest that I've always had. And so I pay attention. You know what Jesus told us would happen in the end? Earthquakes. And are these volcanoes going off because of coronal mass ejections, because of CMEs, solar flares? It's God. So I believe there are more. I don't believe I know there are, because like prior to 2019, if a volcano went off, people would watch it. It would be the big news story, right? Well, not anymore, because there's too many news stories. So there's at least double the amount. I know there is.
Eruptions. And many people claim that the Smithsonian Institute changed its narrative to say this is normal. they used to demonstrate on their side 20 volcanoes is the average, and now they were claiming it's 40. At least this is what I read in conspiracy subreddits, and I'm gonna check it in a bit later. You might ask, what do volcanoes have to do with our fog? Well, let me tell you about the Great London Smog of 1952, when thousands died in what appeared to be a very smelly fog. It turned out that a poisonous gas, sulfur dioxide, was trapped in that fog. It sickened over 100,000 people and thousands died. The same thing has happened in the US as well. In 1948 in Pennsylvania, a fog of sulfur dioxide poisoned the people of the Nora. And so guess what volcanoes release in massive quantities when they erupt? They release sulfur dioxide, among other.
So they say they're smelling fireworks, they're smelling that type of stuff in the air, like sulfur, something burning. So it satisfies the description, but keep listening. So it's from all those volcanoes from the wind.
Or poisons. Some conspiracy theorists believe that back then someone leaked the sulfur dioxide to test it as a bioweapon into the fog. I won't dig deep into that and unravel this because regardless of what happened, it's got 100,000 sick. Now here is where things get interesting. All these erupting volcanoes, they're nowhere near Europe or the United States where the fog is. The volcanoes are in Indonesia, South America, Iceland, and Japan. The volcanic activity itself is natural. It matches patterns we see with solar and tectonic activity. It's just extremely high. Yet, looking at the atmospheric data, the sulfur dioxide levels in our current fog are already concerning. The wind has carried the sulfur dioxide from the volcanoes to Europe and the US, and it's already mixing with the fog. Those people who reported strange smells weren't imagining things. The chemical evidence backs them up. When I tested a fog sample under my microscope in my last video, it looked normal because sulfur dioxide is invisible to basic microscopes. But the air quality maps and sulfur dioxide readings revealed the truth. The fog is poisonous. So why isn't mainstream media reporting this as a threat? Why aren't they informing people that the fog is covering way more territory than normal and that at the same time it's poisonous? Why do you have to learn this from a YouTuber? Weren't they so concerned about your health 4 years ago when they made you stay at home? Keep in mind that volcanoes poisoning the fog are very far away from us. Imagine what would have happened if the volcanoes erupted in Europe or the US during this fog. Well, I have some very bad news for you. Tectonic data shows 2 massive underwater volcanoes are about to wake up, and these are right outside the US and Europe. The first one is called Axial Seamount, and it sits just 300 miles off the coast of Oregon. When it erupts, it could surely trigger a tsunami, but that's not the worst part. If this fog is still around when that happens, the entire east coast will be exposed to dangerous levels of sulfur dioxide.
You say, so what, right? You know, what's the chance of that happening? Do you know off the coast of BC, so it's like Canada, Oregon, whatever, around that area? My throat, man, it's really bothering me. Throat dysphonia. You know, when they're talking about things like the Cascadia, and, you know, also down by California and all that, off the coast of BC, I don't know what it is, like 100 kilometers or 200, something like that. It's very, very close. I think they found it in 2023 or 2024. There's going to be a massive earthquake. There's going to be a massive earthquake and possibly a volcano, because they said they'd never seen this before, that there's I guess the heat of the tectonic plates is pushing up steam, and it's hot. So, you know, it could be cold water there, but you go down there and it's hot. It's hot steam coming out. And that gives an indication, and that lets you know there's going to be one very soon. Not like within 100 years, like a lot closer. So we know this, and so what he's saying is, well, I don't think he said it yet, but would they, with this happening naturally, these volcanoes, all they have to do is put in fog, because fog helps gather all of the sulfur dioxide and stay in one place to poison you. So the question is, are they putting in fog? I don't know. This is just what I'm discussing.
So if you live near Oregon, Washington, or California, I would closely monitor the axial seamounts volcanic activity if I were you. In Europe, we're not safe here either. Just off the coast of Santorini in Greece, there's another underwater volcano that is showing signs of awakening. The last time it erupted was in 1649, and then it wiped out an entire city. And now, in combination with the fog, it's threatening to do much worse. It surely looks like a great time to poison everyone for very cheap if you could just manufacture an artificial fog, because the sulfur dioxide is there in the atmosphere waiting to be trapped in something like a bioweapon. That is, especially if you knew about the two underwater volcanoes near the US and Europe. It seems like a very good time to attack these two parts of the world with fog. And don't tell me that this is absolutely crazy, because in the previous video, we proved devices that can make artificial fog already exist. So there's a possibility this fog is artificial for whatever reason. The only thing that we couldn't figure out completely so far is why the satellites aren't detecting the fog in some places where you have been reporting fog in the comments. But hopefully when these volcanoes erupt, there will be no fog anymore, because if there is, it will sicken the entire east coast of the United States. If I were an evil genius, I would time the creation of the artificial fog and use this natural disaster. Although I'm pretty sure the volcanic eruptions are natural, they often coincide with solar activity and tectonic activity. And right now, based on that, the volcanoes erupting make total sense. Looking at solar activity and tectonics, it's all natural. There are very strong solar flares coming at us right now, and they are sometimes coincidental with the eruptions. There isn't a strict correlation between volcanic activity and solar flares, but many people speculate they are connected, so you get my point. I also saw that many people pointed out that Smithsonian is changing its standards for volcanic activity. To be unbiased here, the Smithsonian didn't change its standards. They just rewrote the sentence in a manner that it appears more normal to have 44 simultaneous eruptions. I don't know the reason. Perhaps they are hiding something.
I don't know the reason. You know what? It's frustrating to watch people wonder why these things are happening, but we already know why they're happening, right? When I'm talking to those volcanoes and earthquakes. So I don't know how much more of this I'll play. Then I'm going to read you something of would they poison us? So let's read about the pineal gland, the third eye.
Something, or perhaps know something we don't. Or maybe they just refresh the content of their website. Now, none of this matters. But remember, in the last video I took a sample from the fog. I looked the sample under a microscope and it turned out fine. Well, if it had sulfur dioxide in it, which after looking at the sulfur dioxide map, we know it had. I wouldn't have seen it anyway because of the limited capabilities of my microscope. The air quality maps and the sulfur dioxide maps are enough to prove the fog is poisonous, and that the people who said it smells weird are correct. The good thing is it's not as deadly yet. It does not contain any radiation particles, it seems. Europe shows normal levels of gamma radiation all over. So the only concern we have is for our lungs. I'd like to urge you, however, if there's still fog outside, limit your time outside until the fog disappears. I believe this sums up the poisonous fog so far.
Yeah, don't worry, it's just your lungs. Say that to people with COPD and scars on their lungs. So let's read this. Now, I'm not saying this is a scientific article, but it's the truth because I've read about this in scientific articles. Damage of fluoride on your pineal gland and how to reverse it. So don't take me for this. I just took this off quickly. This is on LinkedIn, so because I was looking for something specific. Up until the 1990s, there was nearly no research done on the pineal gland. In other words, our third eye. It's very small. An ancient knowledge long forgotten or neglected resurfaced with the tireless efforts of a British scientist, Jennifer Luke, who published the results of her research proving that the fluoride deposits were accumulating in the pineal gland, causing it to calcify and thus causing many mental and physical illnesses. This is what they talk about, the third eye. Excuse me. Most importantly, fluoride, which they put in our water, and you can measure it, decreases melatonin production. I think wherever you live, you can go and look at the fluoride level. Why is this important? Melatonin regulates our sleep pattern. It plays an important role in our sexual development. I teach this to people, how to get good sleeps, how to live. It plays an important role in our sexual development, but most of all, it's a bridge between our body and our mind. You wonder why you're depressed. I'm not saying this is the whole reason, but our spiritual development is also connected to our physical well-being. This is why we make certain changes in our diets, not just to simply lose weight, but to also consume the healthy foods that benefit our physical health. You can't expect to have a healthy mind if you don't have a healthy body. Amen to that. You know where Paul says, exercise profits little? Well, you know, and everything in the Lord is, you know, much better. But it's both, especially these days. Therefore, you can't ignore that. Especially with all the garbage food and preservatives and additives and sugars, and therefore you can't grow spiritually if you don't take good care of your body through diet, exercise, and meditation. God, whatever it is you do. There are many theories about the presence of fluoride in our food, medications, certain things we use on a daily basis, the water, and you go to the dentist, right? And so I am from that time when they were doing that more heavily. One of the most well-known goes back to the Nazi Germany and their practice of fluoriding the water in order to better control the population. I have not read about that. Apparently, they knew that a calcified pineal gland would create mentally and spiritually weakened population for the Nazi government to practice their inhumane and cruel torture on the prisoners. I do believe that. Before we dive deeper, let's take a look at some of the most common things we consume daily that contain fluoride. So water, pesticides, there's another one, man. This is just another reason to get well, physically and mentally, spiritually with God. Pesticides used in farming. You wonder why so many people have dementia and have Alzheimer's disease and get motor neuron diseases. I've seen this. My neighbors, two of my neighbors with the same 1 in 100,000 chance of having this, what they had. My neighbors right next door. I am in a city outside, like amalgamated city, but where I am, there's around 100,000 people in a city of about just over 1 million. Can you imagine that my neighbor across the street, my neighbor across the way, both had the same disease of the chances of 1 in 100,000? That's crazy. And so I talked to their families and they wondered if it was pesticides. Processed foods and beverages, dental products like toothpaste, tooth fillings. So I did get fluoride fillings. Antidepressant meds, Teflon pans, and industrial chemicals. As you can see from the above list, maintaining an organic food-based diet is more important than you may think. Eat your greens, like not just antidepressants, but also lots of other meds containing fluoride. And this is why it's necessary to improve our physical health, to overcome our illnesses, so we don't depend on a lifestyle that forces us to consume and use fluoride-based products. How can we cleanse our body from fluoride in order to become healthier and improve the connection between our body and our mind, so we can maintain and decalcify pineal gland? Here are some quick tips. Give me a sec. Fruit, blueberries, oatmeal, like eat healthy foods. You may choose to drink bottled water. I don't think the fluoride where I live is that bad. Drink water throughout the day. Don't just drink a whole bunch at once, and don't drink, for the rest of the day. So, consume foods rich in iodine like shellfish, seaweed, eat fish. Himalayan salt, fermented foods, ghee. Use curcumin. A compound found in turmeric made me very sick because of an abdominal disorder. Highly effective in detoxing your body from fluoride. I believe it. Get a good water filter if you're using tap water. Not all filters get rid of fluoride, so before you buy one, make sure you choose a brand that gets rid of fluoride in your water. Exercise and eating. If you mix that with God, well, you're going to put God above all, I hope. You will get better, I believe. Use fluoride-free toothpaste, or use small amounts of toothpaste, and that's what I do. And thoroughly rinse your mouth after you brush your teeth. If you need dental treatment, opt for fluoride-free solutions. Avoid processed food at all costs. This is what I teach people. Consume fresh and organic food. Don't cook with Teflon products. Use Himalayan salt. This person probably isn't from Canada, so no, they're not. I don't think. I mean, like Neil Dumra. I'm just saying that because it looks like his diet could be different than ours, but exercise regularly. Sweating helps your body release toxins. Increase your magnesium intake. Yes. Avoid taking meds that contain fluoride. Increase your selenium intake by eating fish, nuts. Be careful of kidney stones, though. Brazil nuts, mostly, together with other foods that are high in vitamin C. So if you're worried about stones and kidney stones, just eat oranges. They'll bring it up. If you eat oranges, you don't need a vitamin C replacement. It will give you just as much. Now let's take a closer look at what actually fluoride does to our pineal gland and how it impacts us spiritually and mentally. Fluoride is now being recognized as a neurotoxic chemical that affects our developmental health. This is a holistic healer. One of its side effects is lowering the IQ levels in children and also causing ADHD. I believe it. I believe it. I believe there's scientific evidence coming out. When we consume products that contain fluoride, it goes beyond our bloodstream. It goes to our bloodstream, finds its way into our bones and pineal gland. So as I said, the Pope has it, I think, on his stick that he walks with, and outside one of the buildings, there's a big statue of a pineal gland. So they know something. Why would they have I can't think of the word because of my pineal gland is calcified. Why would they have an acorn outside of their buildings? And you can look, and I don't know if it's Egyptian, but you can see it in the old, not hieroglyphics, but like that kind of thing. And many cultures. It goes through our bloodstream, finds its way into our bones and pineal gland, especially in pregnant women. Can be a risk factor as it plays an important role in brain's development. Just try to eat healthy. Try to stay healthy. Go to bed at the same time. Drink water throughout the day. Choose what water you want. As we mentioned above, fluoride was highly used by the Nazis to keep prisoners passive in concentration camps. I don't know much about that, but I know they tortured people. This results in decreased learning capability and poor memory. When our brains are not able to function properly, we are more prone to autoimmune disorders. I believe it. Where are all these autoimmune disorders coming from? Foods, pesticides, things coming out of the air. What's coming out of the air? I don't know. Pesticides, whatever they're doing. A weakened immune system and poor physical health. Mind and body go hand in hand. If one is suffering, the other will not be able to fight the stress. Fluoride also lowers our energy levels. You know, I tell my brother, two of my brothers, and a lot of people in society, they're eating out all the time, and they wonder why they're sick, and then they circulate in just a circular, why am I sick, why do I have a flu now, why am I getting a cold? Because you're eating out all the time, and it's making you sick. You're not going for walks like you used to. Or at all. Because you're sitting down using your video games, and you get what I mean. A weakened immune system, and when we don't have enough energy, our metabolism slows down. Instead of consuming healthy foods because they require us to prepare them, and since we lack the energy to cook, I cook a day before. We go for the fast and unhealthy options. We eat processed foods. Of course, we don't have to start counting the bad side effects of a diet that contains mostly processed foods, sugar, bad carbs, and bad fats. The whole thing is a chain reaction, if you will. Before we know it, we are a part of the weak masses. Think of pineal gland as a sponge. Why do we say that? Because it absorbs much more fluoride than our blood and our bones do. Fluoride will eventually cause calcification. So think about it. How did they know so long ago? Because they took brains apart. I'm sure they did tests. Fluoride will eventually calcify in our pineal gland. You can uncalcify it, guys. That's the good thing. Like a faucet clogged with too much calcium and cannot pass enough water before it is cleaned. Our pineal gland will not be able to function fully when it's clogged. Third eye. A malfunctioning pineal gland can cause sleep problems, weight gain, early start of menstruation in girls, etc. The pineal gland also regulates the level of serotonin and dopamine. So I don't know, I'm just reading this. I don't know the scientific proof of that. I believe it though. Don't take me for my word. These two hormones are closely tied to our mood. When our brains can't produce enough serotonin and dopamine, we suffer from depression. I will put this in the description box with that person, that video I played you. Why we suffer from depression, anxiety, panic attacks, mood swings, lack of motivation, low energy, anger, and problems with focusing, among other things. All these health issues we talked about will reduce our ability to achieve spiritual growth. Could be true. This is the most important part of the problem. That's part of it, okay? I'm not saying it's because of a pineal gland. When it comes to God, that's not what I'm saying. This is scientific, and a lot of this is true. If you think about most of the meds prescribed for a wide variety of diseases, including depression and anxiety, they contain high levels of fluoride, yes, but they also contain synthetic hormones that tamper with our brain's natural ability to produce these hormones. Once we introduce synthetic hormones to our bodies, our pineal gland loses its function. When we close our eyes, we can't see. This is a simple fact. Our pineal gland is our third eye. When it's damaged, our third eye is also closed. I don't refer to it as the third eye. I just refer to it as a pineal gland. This is a mind's eye or path to higher consciousness. Okay, so this is where I'm just like, it's just calcified. Spiritual awareness and self-awakening. No amount of meditation, efforts of positivity, or spiritual practices can help us go any further if we don't deal with the source of the problem. If you ever find yourself helplessly meditating but not making any progress, I'm going to stop there. because I don't want to get into, Buddhism, Hinduism, those types of things. But what they're saying in there is scientific. What he's saying in there. Just give me a second, and I got to gather my thoughts. Do your own investigation, right? That's what we should always do. I'm going to leave this in the description box, and in any case, with the fog, with the drones, with all those types of things, to me it is interesting to see what they're trying to do on this earth. I mean, with everything, right? All the things that we see. But we have God, right? We have God. And I don't think I read this. I'll read this last thing. So I'm trying to eat as I go along, so pardon me. This is when David was giving thanks to God after all his battles. Boy, was David ever in a lot of battles, wasn't he? I don't know. I think not because my name is David or the heart of David, but it is my favorite story of the Bible. He was like Moses and Abraham as far as favor and mercy, mercy, and the amount of battles he was in and won. If you calculate all the people that it says, 20,000 fell. If you add them up, it's a very high number. Then David spoke to the Lord. 2 Samuel 22. And David spoke to the Lord the words of this song. And on the day when the Lord had delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul, he said, is this a psalm? Like, is this in the Psalms? I don't know. Maybe it isn't. This is just the Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. I'm getting very uncomfortable in my abdomen and my throat. The God of my strength in whom I will trust, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold and my refuge, my Savior, you save me from violence. I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death surrounded me, the floods of ungodliness made me afraid. The sorrows of Sheol surrounded me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried out to my God. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry entered his ears. Do you ever wonder that? How long it takes for him to answer our prayer and those types of things? Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven quaked and were shaken because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils and devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down with darkness under his feet. He rode upon a cherub and flew, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness canopies around him, dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. From the brightness before him, coals of fire were kindled. Guys, we're going to see this someday soon. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. He sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning bolts, and he vanquished them. Then the channels of the sea were seen. The foundations of the world were uncovered at the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from above. He sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, from those who hated me. For they were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my support. He also brought me out into a broad place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands. He has recompensed me, for I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his judgments were before me. As for his statutes, I did not depart from them. I was also blameless before him. And I kept myself from my iniquity. Therefore the Lord has recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanliness in his eyes. People say that we can't be righteous, like Calvinists. If we believe in Christ, we are righteous. I have to take a break in my voice, guys. Give me a sec. Verse 26. Deep breath. With the merciful, you will show yourself. Listen to this. With the merciful, if you're merciful, you will show yourself merciful. God will show himself merciful to you. With a blameless man, you will show yourself blameless. With the pure, you will show yourself pure. And with the devious, you will show yourself shrewd. You will save the humble people, but your eyes are on the haughty, that you may bring them down. For you are my lamp, O Lord. The Lord shall enlighten my darkness. For by you I can run against a troop. By my God I can leap over a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is proven. He is a shield to all who trust in him. For who is God except the Lord? And who is a rock except our God? God is my strength and power. David knew Jesus Christ. And he makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of deer, and sets me on high places. He teaches my hands to make war, so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. You have also given me the shield of your salvation. Your gentleness has made me great. You enlarged my path under me, so my feet did not slip. I have pursued my enemies and destroyed them. Neither did I turn back until they were destroyed. And I have destroyed them and wounded them, so that they could not rise. They have fallen under my feet. For you have armed me with strength for the battle. You have subdued under me those who rose against me. You have also given me the necks of my enemies, so that I destroyed those who hated me. They looked, but there was none to save. Even to the Lord he did not answer them, like Saul. Then I beat them as fine dust to the earth. I trod them like dirt in the streets, and I spread them out. You have also delivered me from the strivings of my people. You have kept me as the head of the nations. As people I have not known shall serve me. A people I have not known shall serve me. The foreigners submit to me. As soon as they hear, they obey. The foreigners fade away and come frightened from their hideouts. The Lord lives. Blessed be my rock. Let God be exalted, the rock of my salvation. It's God who avenges me and subdues the people under me. He delivers me from my enemies. You also lift me up above those who rise against me. You have delivered me from the violent man. Therefore I'll give thanks to you, O Lord, among the Gentiles. And sing praises to your name. He is the tower of salvation to his king, and shows mercy to his anointed, to David and his descendants forevermore. Whoa, man. That blew me away yesterday. Like, wow, got right to the division of your soul and spirit. Wow. I'm ending there. Therefore, I'll give thanks to you, O Lord, among the Gentiles. You know, us being Gentiles, being the Gentiles, you know, if the Jews had been obedient, would we have not been saved? So the answer is no. You and I are not an afterthought. We're always meant to be saved. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me the schematics of how that is. It just is. God bless.